Good morning, everybody. I hope you are enjoying your start of your Saturday or your evening, or depending on what part of the world you're in. I thought I would show you a couple of really interesting things. One being a new project that I found when I went to the store yesterday, or day before it was actually. And it was this. And oh boy, the shadows, because this box is really super shiny. Let me see. And this is actually, it's like an optical illusion, but it's actually clear. But I guess because of how shiny it is, it makes it look like it's a holographic thing, but it's actually not. But there's a whole series of these, and I just happen to like this crystal dragon. It's a 3D, and the pieces are, they they come in a plastic bag, and I was playing with it, and the pieces, I don't know if you can see it, they're all different shapes, sizes. Like this is a foot, and on this foot sets a, let me see if I can get it in this box. Try to keep it separate. No, I think I put it back in the plastic bag. Anyway, on his foot it sets a little, looks like a crystal. I've separated some of the pieces for a reason. And you'll understand in a moment. Yeah, on this foot sits this little globe looking thing, and it sits on his foot like that. And no, there's actually nothing really holding it in place. And like here is, let me put this back in here before I lose it. I don't want to try to find that clear globe on the floor. Like the biggest, I don't really find it an issue because I never save in, as I call them, instructions anyway. I don't save the instructions when something comes with it. The issue with this one, it comes with nothing. It comes literally with a bag with all these little pieces. The pieces, there's I think maybe 3 that have a funny number on them, but there's no significance to the number. And there's nothing else in the box, with one exception of a little, I don't know, I'd call it a flyer, where it shows all the different ones. Like here's the one I bought, which is the crystal dragon, but it comes with all those colors, unicorns. It comes with all different 3D crystal type figurines and stuff that you can put together. It doesn't go together like any other 3D puzzle I've ever did. To even try to figure out on the box, there is a website you go to that says for instructions. I'm thinking, okay, cool. Well, kind of. What it takes you to is like a printout of all the pieces, and it has them numbered, but the pieces don't have numbers. Like this piece here, if you can look at it, it's kind of, it's hard to focus because it's clear, and it looks like it has the feel of thick glass, but it's not. It's plastic, which is, you know, I know the issues with plastic. And there's a hole in the center of it. There's not a hole in all of them, but there's a hole in some of them. And this, unfortunately, is piece number 1. And that's what those instructions show you. Is it's got, instead of a 3D photo, it's got just a 2D, and you see only one side of what the piece looks like. So it's been interesting trying to figure out, okay, what is number one? The pieces that I didn't really need directions to figuring out is like, this is a piece of his tail, and I just clamped them two together, but I didn't, you don't clamp them tight because you do have to, like, pieces go inside of other pieces after the other pieces are put together. What holds it all together is there's a rod, and it goes through that hole. There you are. This little rod, actually, there's one of them that has a screw, and it goes through that hole, and then and this has like a Phillips head bit deal, and you insert, it's just a little flat plastic, here it is, it's just a little flat plastic deal, and it actually says key on it, and this is how you, and it just says key on it, that's how you actually tighten, and it just screws in there and holds everything together. It doesn't, some of the bits and parts will stick together, like the tail, and it's cool because here's the wing. Isn't that cool? But where's his, I put the top of his head together. That's a part of a leg, and it's there's his other leg. Oh, this one is 3 pieces, and this one took me like an hour. It's like, how is that? Because the end of it to me looked like the end looked to me almost looked like a snake, but it wasn't. It's the tip of his tail, which if you look on here, it's a little bit different, but that's what it is. It's that tail piece. And I had put these 2 pieces right here together, and I'm like going, well, that tail's got to go in there somehow. And in the end of this, and of course you snap these 2 pieces together. This is 2 pieces. You snap those together, but don't do them tight. You kind of just make them loose, and this piece on the end, there's a slot, and it kind of slides in, and then you clamp this bottom tail piece onto it. But just when you, and you can't get it wrong because it won't let you clamp it down. But it's been interesting trying to, I was looking for his head. I can't find it. His head is in here. The top of his head is in here somewhere. But when I do it, I just lay the pieces all out. But the directions it gives you, it just tells you what numbers the pieces are, but these pieces aren't numbered. So the first when I first brought it home, I basically sat and figured out, well, how is this thing going together? I don't get it. And then I happened to just, okay, I'm gonna go look at these directions, and for me, it is one of the biggest challenges I think I've had in a long time, because for me those pieces are hard to see. And it may have not been a good decision to buy one that's clear, because they had a purple or lilac colored one and a pink, and I just wanted the clear. But for me, it probably would have been a better decision to get a colored one. But they had some really cool ones. There was a castle, and I thought, oh wow, that would make, it was like a pink castle, and I'm like, oh. And then you can buy the little characters that go with these, like the castle. There was other little tiny ones you could get that would, for things that would go with the castle. which is basically the dragon goes with the castle. But that's just a project that I'll be working on for some time, because until I get all those pieces labeled from 1 to, I mean, I found number 1 and number 2, and they don't lock together. They just kind of, one sits up on top of the other, and then I have to find number 3, and it locks those two together, but then number 3 isn't locked. It's just loose. So it's going to be interesting trying to figure out, without the use of glue. You're not supposed to use glue. and I could see it, because glue would actually show, and glue, any type of glue, would dull the plastic and could probably eat through the plastic. So, and yes, I know, for all those that don't do plastic, this is it is what it is. Lots of things made out of plastic. It's actually, it's a recycled, I don't know, it tells me, I ain't gonna try to read that tonight, no, or this morning. But that's one of the projects that I will be doing for some time to come. The other project that I thought I would show you is one that most anybody that does quilts, any type of quilts, there's 3 main, not main, 3 types of different blocks that go into blocks that we put together. One is a square and a square, which looks like this. The other one is different variations of doing the flying geese. There is tons of variations out there. And the other one is half square triangles. Now, I was sitting there going, that's how I used to do mine. You can get square and square, flying geese, half square triangles, all from the same basic technique. And I'm going to switch my cameras and show you. It's, however people do them, we all have different ways of doing them. Flying geese are not my favorite. Doing them this way, I don't mind them. You do have to do a little math, because you want your flying geese so long, and so you do have to do a little extra math. But I'd rather do the math sometimes than doing the snowball and then trying to make it perfect, so that like on the flying geese, so you do definitely have your 1/4 inch seam, and then you have to make sure the block is all square. Well, I'm going to show you something where it kind of takes some of that guesswork out of it. Okay, I switched my camera view, and hopefully I need to give myself some wind. Okay, so what you're going to do, and this again is a square, is a typical square and square. This is a tiny one, but if you wanted them bigger, I will show you how to make them bigger. You just, like I said, it's a little bit of math. Okay, this one starts off with this center square, which is 2.5 inch, which is this one. And I just use these colors, not because I'm doing anything with them, but because I figured the camera, they'd be great to see, and they do go together. I could have used blue, but I set blue against this, and the blue kind of overpowered this square. And it's actually a pink salmon color with a little blue. But I have both of these colors of blue, and it overpowered it. So I thought, no, I'm going to use maroon. I don't know, you could see it. It looks kind of cool. It's a maroon and these little flowers around it. So I kind of thought it went together. So, okay, you start off with a 2.5 inch square. Okay, just a little 2.5 inch. Doesn't matter. It works a little better if this piece is light. I wouldn't recommend using white, but you can. you can use white or just a lighter color and keep the outside dark, or if you choose to go with this dark, you can make this light, or you can have all four of these a different color if that's what you choose, or have two of one color and two of the other. But you'll understand, such as if you take a thought about flying geese. Flying geese, there's a center. Basically, if you look at it in terms of triangles, you have flying geese, the center, which is a big triangle, and then you have two little triangles on each side, and the two outside triangles are white or a color, and then your big main part of the flying goose. Oh, actually, you know what? I have them all put in a box. I don't think I have any out here that are done. No, I don't have any. I'm working on that one for Siberian Wind, that one that she put out for that free pattern with all the flying geese on it. And I have all the ones that are done in a box up there. But I'm going to show you another way that you can make square and a square, flying geese, and half square triangles with starting with the same basic what I'm going to show you. So let's put this little square and a square up here out of the way for a little bit. So this is 2.5 inch. Then you're going to get some strips, whatever color strip you want. You could have 4 different colored strips for this or the same. I just chose this one. Your strip is going to be 1 3/4 inches wide. Okay? You can leave it as a whole strip. Do not make it the same. Do not make it 2.5 inches. You want it longer. Okay? You don't have to have it too long, but you want it longer. So the easiest thing to do, you put your square on top of your strip. You leave, I don't know, I'd leave about, I don't know, a good inch hanging out the end. Okay? And then you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam right on top of that strip. Now if you were doing multiples of these, you could chain stitch by putting the squares right on top of the strip. But I'm only going to show one so you can see. So I have a couple of them done in certain stages. So, okay. Oh, let me get these strings cut off. There's no measuring. You just take and measure what you think is 1 inch and cut your strip off. Okay, so you have a piece that looks like this. And I know this might look funny, but it does work. Okay, and you just kind of press this guy back temporarily so that you can sew on the opposite side. This side over here. Not here or here, but this side over here. Okay, you're going to do the same thing. Leave about 1 inch away from the end. And so 1/4 inch. No, you're not cutting these off. Don't cut these ends off. Okay? Do not cut those ends off. There's a reason we don't cut those ends off. Even though it may bug people, just don't cut them off. Discourage the cutting off bit. Again, we're going to just come down about 1 inch and just cut this very tail off, okay? And you're going to have, and I'll take this to the iron. I'm going to get my little iron, get me a little iron so I can have it here. The other side of this board is a ironing mat. So you're going to have one like this that kind of looks like a different version of the courthouse steps, I guess you could say. So you're going to press this. You're not going to iron it, you're just going to press this with an iron. And You do want this flat, but you do want it pressed to the outside. So you want these pressed this way. So, 1 second, and I will press these real quick. Rulers, and set my seam on both of these here. Just want to kind of press. You don't want to. You want to press, not iron. You don't want to stretch the seams. You don't want to make it wonky. Wonky's not a good thing in this case. I mean, it'll be corrected, but it's easier if you don't. Okay. Yeah, we got it. Pretty good. It's not real hot, so it's okay. So that's what we got. We got this. Okay, let me turn it. Yeah, you can see it looks like an H. If you turn it towards yourself, it looks like an H. Now what we're gonna do, no, we're not gonna do these same size strips. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cut a strip, and I'll do it on the opposite side so you could see it. You're gonna take the strip, and actually, you know what, we'll do it from the big strip so you can really see it. So here's a big strip. You're gonna take it and go about halfway to this strip, halfway to this other side on this strip. Okay, and good enough. I'm gonna fold it so you can actually see. See, we got two pieces that they go about halfway. See, you could see they go halfway. And you're just going to cut it. It does not have to be exact. Put you over here. Oh, my little pieces come apart. And we're going to cut this in half because we have to put one on the top and one on the bottom. So this is what they're going to look like that. Okay. How they're going to get sewed on here is this is where it's going. So this strip, its design is to cover this up, but you want it to go over also. And you just want it to be so it goes over. But you want it to line up as close as possible. And that's the way it looks. And you're going to sew all the way down. And the same with the other one. It's going to do on the other side. So I'm going to pick this up without moving it, hopefully. And you could just straighten it out. But you want this side even. Okay, you don't want it sticking out. But we're going to sew from here all the way to the end over here. Okay, so hopefully we can get it straight without it going wonky because I'm not pinning. And you do want to try to stay within that 1/4 inch seam allowance. String off with this guy here. And you just kind of finger press it open. And it's fine if it's not exact, you'll understand. And if it looks like this, where it's flappy like that, you did it correctly. Okay? And you're just gonna turn this over. Hey, you stay on that side. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing. No, these two don't have to be exact. You just kind of want to, your biggest concern is making sure that center square is covered. And you'll understand why I go about 1 inch over as soon as we are done here. It'll make sense then. Don't cut these little pieces off though. Leave them on there. They need to stay on there. Don't cut them off. Leave them on. I know that's not something we're usually told to cut all the dog ears off, cut all the extra pieces off. This is a particular case you don't want to do that. You want to leave them on for right now. So this is what we got now. This is what we got. Now we're going to open these up and I just kind of finger press them, but just be real careful, because if you did a thing and cut your strip on the bias, you don't want to stretch it out. So I'm going to go put it on the iron real quick, so because we want this flat. And if you have something that looks like that, you did great. That's terrific. So let's just get these pressed. Just kind of press. Don't stretch them out. You're just kind of pressing. And I usually turn mine over. Excuse me. Okay. So now you have something that looks like this. Okay? And this is what we're going to get from here. This is a square and a square. It's a square and a square where you keep your points. Okay? This is based on 90 degrees, and I don't know about everybody else, but me, I don't have. Every single person that owns a ruler has a 90 degree. 90 degree is nothing more than this and this. This is 90 degrees, these two pieces together. No matter what type of ruler you have, this still makes 90 degrees, this piece here. But me, I don't actually have. It makes it easier if you actually have the 90 degree ruler, because there's some other additional stuff on it. But you can still do this without actually having to have that 90 degree ruler and go through the added expense of having that 90 degree ruler. You just have to do a little bit of extra that you wouldn't normally have to do. And what you want is these points is what we're going to focus on, okay? You got a point here and a point here. We're going to focus on this one right here, on this, or whichever side. Strings makes it feel like I got something. Okay, this point right here, okay? You want to turn, you're not going to leave it square, you're going to turn it so it's at an angle. And if you have to, you can find a line or something so that it's sitting at a diagonal. Move it closer to your body, however. But these points is what you want to focus on, okay? You're basically, if you look at it in the form of, I guess, a diamond. Okay? Now, when you get it, don't move. I'm going to have to move it this way a little bit so I can get my ruler in there. Okay. What I do is, it's kind of eyeballed, but if you can put these on this line as best you can. Okay. We're going to focus on over here. My ruler is old, but that's okay. On my ruler, it actually has some lines left. Has some lines left in the center. What you're going to do, there you are. Okay, this line here on my ruler, this line right here, it goes right through the center. From that hits that point and that point. That's going to give you your 90 degrees. Okay? And then what you want is, you want this point here to be, you want to move your ruler so that that point, your ruler is 1/4 of an inch beyond where that point is. So you just want to try to find a line to go from that point to point, and then put your ruler so it's 1/4 of an inch beyond that point. Okay, and I hope that makes sense. I really hope I didn't confuse anybody. Okay, and you're just going to cut that off, and you got these little pieces cut. Okay, now we got that first one cut. That's the biggest one. Now we have a straight piece to work with. Okay, that's the piece we cut off. We have a straight piece. So on my ruler, I have lines that go across. I don't know if you could see them, but it's actually a line that goes across. And I put that line right on, so it goes across, so it's right on there. Ugh. You just want to make sure that it stays straight with a line. And you're going to put your ruler to where that point is at the quarter mark right here. Okay, so you just want to, let me move my ruler so it's not so far up there. Okay, let me get this. Oof. Okay. See, we got a line, and it measures, I think it's pretty close anyway. Okay, it just follows along that straight here, and then the point is at the quarter here, and this is where you're going to cut 1/4 of an inch beyond that point. So we're just going to cut that. Okay, now we have two sides that look like this. So we're going to turn. We're going to do the exact same thing we just did. Okay, same thing. Going to march 1/4 of an inch beyond that. What? Fabric, stop moving. It decides to move. It's a no-no. Okay, you want to put that line on the bottom. And again, if you have like the 90 degree, this makes it, it's done a little bit different. And again, I'm going to match. That goes across my ruler. Put that point at the 1/4 inch, and you're going to cut. You're going to leave 1/4 of an inch past that point. Okay, now we got one more to do, and look at that. And we got one little more to do, and we will have a square and a square. And I'm going to do the same thing. Kind of line it up on the bottom. And I mean, again, it's not going to be exactly perfect as if you would have an actual ruler that is 90 degrees, because it's got additional lines on it. OmniGrid makes one that's an actual 90 degree ruler for making these like this. But I don't have one. And when you know, as we all know, quilting of any kind, it can get a little up there in pricey. So, you know, this is just my way of figuring out something to save myself a little bit of money and still be able to do the same thing. And now we have a square and a square, just like the one I previously showed you. A square and a square. Now, remember I told you we could make flying geese from the square and a square. You just have to remember this, our flying geese are going to be a little bit smaller because you need to make this the center square bigger, but that's okay. The concept of how you do them is still the same. And remember I told you sometimes doing it this way there might be a little math. And if you're going to make flying geese out of these, this center, instead of 2.5, you need to change it, and it would be 2 and 5/8, this square. And your strips that oh, I forgot to tell you, those strips are 1.5-inch strips. I can't remember if I told you that. Your strips are still going to be the same, but your center square, you need to have it about 2 and 5/8. So it's a 2 and 5/8 because it'll be a little bit bigger. But we're just going to do this with this instead of doing, making another square. Okay. What you're going to do here to make our flying geese. Now, remember, this is a square and a square. It's a totally separate one. What does that look like that? Okay. There's a lot of blocks that use the square and a square. And this is how you do it so you don't lose your points. So when you go to sew your 1/4 inch, your points are still going to be there. Just a little thing instead of doing the flopping of the snowballing thing, and your seams may not be exact, and this is just a little way of doing it. So to the flying geese from this same block. And again, the flying geese are going to be a little smaller than normal, but what you're going to do, and remember, only do this to 2 sides. This side and this side, or this side and this side, not all 4. So we're going to do it to just these 2 sides. What you're going to do is, again, this falls under the 90-degree thing, but what you're going to do in my case, because I don't have an actual 90-degree 90-degree ruler, I have this, or I have another one that's got 60 and 45 and such as that. So in my case, you just kind of put it on a line on your cutting board, cutting mat, whichever you have, so it's kind of straight on this edge, whichever edge. So we're going to cut this side and this side to make our flying geese. So if that's straight, the mark on my ruler that goes across, I'm going to put so it's kind of straight on there. And this is where, remember before we put the ruler out? Now, the edge of the ruler, put it right up against that point. So you're going to be cutting off that 1/4 inch. Okay? Just kind of make it straight as possible, and you're going to cut off that 1/4 inch without cutting the tip off. And don't cut the tip of that off, and it'll look like this. Okay? See? This side has a 1/4, this side has a 1/4, and we just cut that off. You're going to do it to the other side, just like this one. Okay? Just turn this around. Get you out of the way. You're going to do the exact same thing. And this little guy's not exactly square, but that's okay. It's okay. I can live with that tiny bit. Okay? You're going to put at the bottom, line it up on a line, and put the end, very end of the ruler at the end of that point. I'm a little dangerous with this rotary cutter here. Okay. See, now you have 2 sides. See, these sides are cut, these sides are not. We're not cutting these 2 sides. Okay. What you're going to do now, and again, my block's not. What you're going to do now is you're going to cut this direction. Okay? Just go point to point, And my block is not exact straight, so let me straighten this little guy up just a little bit. He's kind of crooked. So let me straighten him up so he does what he's supposed to do. Yeah, we all know that happens. It's one of those things. But this is an easy correction. Like I said, I don't have the 90 degree. And I'm sitting kind of lopsided. And are you straight? Yes, you are. So I'm going to use one that is straight. Okay. So what we're going to do, you see the two that have the 1/2 inch? Leave those alone. What you're going to cut is these. You're going to cut right across here. And what you do is, yeah, see this one's square. Give me a ruler. You're going to put your ruler. You're going to go from point to point. And I think this one's square. Yes, it is. You want it right through that point to this point. And remember, this is the one where we cut off the sides. Here's your ones with still a 1/4 inch top. And you're going to cut right through the center of that. And right through the center. And look what we have. We have a miniature. Yeah, I just dropped my butt. Sorry about that. I just dropped my rotary cutter way over there. And I have a really long arm. It works. No, I just use that, have a, what's that thing? I just use it. It works. Okay, so, yes, they're little tiny miniature ones, but that's a flying geese. And you don't have, when you do it this way, you don't have to worry about the dog ears. You don't have to worry about, oh, my points are lost because I was just wrong. And they're pretty much square. Again, this is little miniature ones. So to get them bigger, you make this center square bigger. And that's miniature ones. And now I'll show you how this same block you can use to make half square triangles using this same method. Okay, and how we're going to, let's put our little miniature flying geese up. Okay, and how we're going to, okay, here is the same block that we started, the square and a square, and how we're going to turn the square and a square into half square triangles is like this. Remember how we cut those sides off? Except this one, we're going to cut it off of all 4 sides. Okay? You just line that up. And my ruler's upside down. And yeah, in this particular case, it doesn't really matter. But you're going to put that. Oh, come on. Stop moving. Stop moving. Hopefully I don't get this one too crooked. But you want to put the point right at the edge of the ruler. And cut that side off. Okay. And do the same to this side over here. You just put a line on the bottom where you know it's straight. Put that point right to the edge of the ruler or whatever you're using to trim with, and you cut him off. And now you're left with this. Okay? So, how we get our half square triangles out of here. Some of you probably guessed how we do this and what you're going to do. And I don't know exactly, well, maybe he is. Maybe he's going to be okay. You just put your ruler, the tip of here to the tip of there, right through the center of those two tips. Okay. Try not to move it. I don't have a turning mat, but for those of you who have a turning mat, we've cut it this way. Now we're going to do the same thing to this way. Try not to get it out of place, because it, try not to let it move, because it'll distort the half square triangles, which is okay, so it distorts them. And you're going to cut it through this way. And you have 4 little miniature half square triangles that are squared up and no dog ears. We can actually play with these little half square triangles. Watch this. And this is just showing you, yes, they are actual half square triangles. There you go. Whoops, I got one of those wrong. Yes, I do. And you go this way. But these guys are little miniature. Look at it. That doesn't look right. I got, what do they call, what do you call it? Directional challenge, or however you call it. What? Well, okay. You go to the center. Everybody goes to, okay, there we go. Everybody goes to the right. Everybody goes to the right. No, that's not. I always have issues trying to make that little whirlwind in the center. That's, oh my word. Okay, you go. I'm directionally challenged when it comes to this. It's okay. You go to the outside. You go to the outside. And you go to the outside. There it is. Yeah, I always have to remember dark to the out, dark to the out, dark to the out, or whatever primary color. But yeah, that's how you make, and of course these are little tiny half square triangles. And again, it's all based on how big you create the center when you're making this. But this is just and now you got, I mean, if I had 4, well actually I could show you, watch. Okay, this could make, we're going to make, okay, if we didn't cut these apart, we would have, ta-da. And if you look at this, and look at that, and let's get these in the center. I think this is right. No, it is not. No, we'll go this way. And we go, so I told you, I'm directionally challenged. And there is your little star. There is a star. It's just a little tiny miniature one. Isn't that kind of cute? And that's just a simple way of doing 3 completely different ways from just a different technique. Well, I hope nobody got going, okay, get on with it. This video is a little bit longer than I normally do, but I wanted you to show you that other technique that you could use and make 3 different, the flying geese, a square and a square, and maintain the, and not, they're not so wonky. You could even use a 5-inch, if you want them bigger, use a 5-inch, a 3-inch. And when you're going to use that, as an example, if you want to use a, instead of the 2.5, if you want to use a 3.5 center, what you want your strips is not, you want the strips to be half plus a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 of an inch. So if you have your center at 3.5, your strips are going to be 1.5. They actually would be 3.5. Make them an inch smaller, and that should be fine. I've not tested all the different ones. I've done it at 5 inches, so I know if you use a 5-inch center square, you need a 3 1/4 inch strips. Yeah, and so it's just a little over half, so that you end up with, because if you look at this, if you're making this distance and this distance, you want to be the same, and everything is dictated by how big you want your square. But yeah, I think that's the smallest flying geese I've ever made. Yeah, he's only, let's see, how big is this guy? He's 3 inches. I've never made one that small, but I just wanted to show you the technique and on something miniaturized. I think it's cute. I've made lots of little, these little half square triangles are 1.5 inches. I've made lots of these little 1.5 inch half square triangles, but doing it this way makes it so simple. And again, if you want your flying geese to have a different color, you just, the strip that you cut, you just use it whatever color you want these wings of the flying geese to be. This is what color your strip needs to be. If you want that to be white, you need to use it white or black or whatever color. You just need to remember that. As the same as when you make your half square triangles, this is a center square and this is your strip piece. So you just need to remember that's how it turns out. But I hope everybody was able to learn from this and you didn't get too bored. This is a really long video. So thank you again, everybody. Hit the like and subscribe, and if there's something somebody wants to see, please leave a comment and let me know. I have no problem. If there's something that I really don't know how to do, I guarantee you I can find out how to do it. So I will talk to everybody out there and see you in the chats, and thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.